All right, so this is going to be round 10 of the NASC. At this point, I'm 5-4. I'm having a so-so tournament. I do have a lot of spread, so I'm still up in the standings compared to where you would expect to be at 5-4. I think I have the most spread of anybody with my win-loss. I've drawn a match with Mike Barron, um, who I always think it's super fun to play because it was Mike Barron's original word book. That was the first thing I ever used to study Scrabble about 10, 12 years ago. So I'm always still a little bit starstruck, I guess, when I do get to play against Mike, even though we played several times now. I think it's a cool experience. Mike goes first. Mike exchanges for exchanging, a small amount, like 1, 2, or 3 on the first turn means you're going to get bingoed on a lot. Be careful where you put your floaters. Exchanging, 7, 6, maybe even 5 on the first turn doesn't really mean a lot of anything. But 4 is always kind of weird for me to figure out how to respond to. How good is the leave they're holding? How good are those 3 tiles? They could be anything from, ALR to anything as bad as, or anything as like terrible for me as like ES blank or something. It could be all kinds of stuff. So, not totally sure how I'm supposed to play this. And I've drawn DEFINOS. And this is one of those racks where it's clear like there are 2 plays that are both good and they both achieve very different things. There's of and there's foind. You can see the 2 different things they do, right? Of scores 10 points. It's rather defensive. A little bit less defensive now that oof has been added, but still quite defensive, especially after an exchange 4. Like, is he bingo prone? Is he very bingo prone? I kind of want to avoid giving him floaters, whereas foind does exactly the opposite. You hold on to just an S, you play off a bunch of tiles, you score 18 more points. So this is a fun one to sim. But in my head, I had a gut instinct, like, I think these plays are nearly the same in terms of sheer valuation. I don't think one's particularly better than the other. But once you factor in Mike's previous exchange 4, if you assume that Mike is somewhat bingo prone, you give him something like ERN or of the likes, nothing crazy, but nothing awful. Give him something like ERN. I think that bridges the gap here. I think that makes of a little bit better because you can see in the details over there the huge difference in a bingo percentage for Mike between the plays, right? He's bingoing over 20% of the time after foind versus just 12 or 13 after of. So I'm giving him an additional 7% chance to bingo. And also, it's one of the worst things in Scrabble, in my opinion, where you're close to a bingo, but you don't actually have a bingo. So if I can get Mike stuck with a bunch of 1-pointers, and he can't bingo, and he's going to have to drop something small, I think that's a good place to put myself in. So these plays are real close to one another. I played of here. I think I would do it again. Now, if I had drawn this rack first rather than second, and Mike didn't exchange, I think I'd usually play foind. But just given that slight difference there, I think that puts of above foind. It's still definitely a judgment call. You play that rack the way you want to play that rack. So Mike responds with OY right here for 12, which was weird for a number of reasons. You can drop YO right here or here or here. So I was trying to figure out, like, did he play OY to try and keep things shut? Maybe he's trying to force me to bingo down I2. I didn't put a ton of thought into why he did that, but it was just a kind of peculiar play to see come down. But anyway, that's what he elected to do. After of, my DEINS does not actually end up pulling a bingo. I think you saw in those details I'm supposed to bingo over half the time with this, but that's fine. DEHIINS was my pull, and with just a tight closed board like this and a bingo prone leave, I don't think there's much you want to consider doing here except HI. Just drop the 2 tiles I picked up, keep it small, and see what Mike's going to do. I feel like after exchange 4 and then dropping OY for 12, Mike has to be within bingo range now. And I'm expecting to get bingoed on pretty often, but unless Mike has an L to put after OI, he's going to need an A to hit Ahi, or he's not going to have a very high scoring bingo at all. In fact, a lot of the time, HI means his bingos won't come down without an A or an L in them. So a lot of merit to that. Plus, it's just the highest static play. It's a good leave, and it's about as many points as you're going to get without, like, blowing up your rack. Oh, I did not know. Oh, honeyed. I did know that word. Okay. I thought it was honeyed or something. That was weird. Anyway, HI is what I liked it to do, and Mike makes what I think is a pretty significant blunder here. He pulls streaks, or AERSST blank, and I guess he was just looking for a way to put, a K there or an L there. But if you're Mike, you really don't want to give up those available floaters to me. I've played 2 tiles, 2 consecutive turns, and he's going to string out an S, a T, and an R in a place where if I bingo through any of them, I'm going to hit a double word. If I bingo through the R, I might even double. And Mike, after the game, agreed that he did not make a good play here. He should have kept it smaller and found a way to go down, or at least just played ahi, played like a tiles from here to here, or something along those lines. So, yeah, that was not one of his finer moments, and he is indeed going to get punished for the mistake he made. I pull ADEGINS, and there are no 7s there, but we're going to go ahead and be able to get an 8 down, no problem. You can pause if you want and try and find the bingo. You can see we've got all kinds of possibilities. Sedating is the one that scores the most, although if for whatever reason I really want to play an open board, I could try and go with assigned or derains. I don't really want to go with an open board, so sedating is what I decide to play. Grab my points. Mike plays Vow right here, which was kind of an annoying play to see because it sets up this hotspot here on top of the OS, and it sets up the Avow hotspot as well. I tend to prefer closed boards, and this is not going to lead to one immediately. That Avow hook is going to be hard to address without drawing the A or a nice play that goes underneath. My post bingo draw is ACL and OV blanks. That's pretty lucky. I was all set to play Volcano right here. I was happy to see Volcano in this rack, and I couldn't. I thought I wasn't going to get to bingo for a while, but then I found something. So if you want to pause and do another bingo exercise, knock yourself out. If you don't, or if you found it already, I'm going to go ahead and play non-vocal on this turn. And there's 4 different non-vocals that all go down. I was pretty certain non-vocal did not take an S, but then this small thing in the back of my head is like, no, I've seen this before, and it does take an S, and it's weird. And then I'm like, no, that's stupid. Why would a word like non-vocal take an S? That doesn't make any sense. So I decided to play it down here. I just feel like it leads to, well, I don't really even know why I played it down here. I just thought it led to some fun stuff, I guess. But I played non-vocal right here. Pretty certain it did not take an S. Fun thing, non-vocal does take an S. And against somebody else, maybe I would get super burned here. There is only one unseen S left, but Mike and I were both pretty sure that didn't take an S. So, we're gonna screw up some turns the rest of this game, with that knowledge. I don't know why I didn't just play it 2 spaces up at L2. Like, unless I'm 100% sure it doesn't take an S, I should avoid that, right? But what I was thinking, I guess, is that like maybe bingos can come down. You parallel the A and or the L and you come down, and I didn't like doing that. I liked how the C made it almost impossible to play bingos. I think that's what I was thinking when I did it, but man, like I could have been burned badly, and I probably would have challenged it too and lost another turn. Like, unless I'm certain, I shouldn't play with fire like that. Mike comes back with HELM right up here for 37. So it creates like a pretty hot spot here. You can put the R up here. So that's a thing, but bingos can't fit there. And then also this spot up here that's weird and kind of hard to hit because you're going to need to start a word with 2 vowels, but it's a thing. Helm's actually reasonably defensive for a play you're going to see up there at 2F. I draw C, I draw a bunch of garbage, C, D, D, I, I, T, W. And at first I'm thinking, like, maybe I just throw all this back, I've got to play, like, wild. It's pretty uninspiring. I've got, like, twice up here. I've got, like, it or did. Nothing really seems good here. I did have this word as well, which I didn't know. That's witty. I think I kind of knew it, but I'm not, like, confident enough to play that right here in this situation. I just didn't like how Wild opened up an S hook for an S I don't have, and it opened up a bingo line down in the 12 row. And it's like, I'm nowhere close to a bingo right now. I'm not sure I want to make a play like this. So eventually I just decided to go with twice. I'm not super, super afraid of double Ds right now because there are like a gazillion E's left in the pool, and I feel like an E is going to stabilize double Ds just about as well as anything could. If I could go back, I'd play witty if I'm more certain on that word. There are instances where you get burned after witty, but whatever. That's how Scrabble works. Sometimes you can get burned after almost anything. But I don't think that's a huge blunder there. I think it's just what do you want to do next turn? What tiles do you want to get rid of? What don't you want to deal with right now? Mike comes back with ROB, and he plays this like instantly. So I was kind of concerned by that. It's like he had a no-brainer play. He didn't even want to think about playing a 5 down. That could mean he has 4 consonants to go with it. But then a lot of the time he'd play something like Bort with 4 consonants just to get rid of another one. So I wasn't sure what to think of why he played that so fast. I pull DDEIKLT, and I just make a terrible blunder this turn. It's a word knowledge blunder, but I didn't know the 6 kidder, KIDDER. I mean, I saw the possibility, and I'm like, why would that be a word? One who kids, and that's exactly what it means according to Zizova, so great. But that's 42, that holds LT, that's fantastic. That's a fantastic play, and I just couldn't pull the trigger on it. Kilter is probably also something I should have done. I do know that word, but I'm kind of scared of double Ds. And I'm also getting pretty scared of the pool. The last couple games, it's felt like the unseen pool has gotten really skewed either towards constants or towards vowels. And if you look at the unseen pool here in this video, there's a bunch of A's, a bunch of E's, a bunch of I's, 3 O's, and all of the U's still unseen. So we're starting to get pretty vowel heavy. It doesn't really mean anything for me this turn, because no matter what I'm going to do, I'm going to end up holding mostly consonants. I'm lucky to have a bunch of consonants right now. I ended up playing Diked down here. I really didn't like how this set up the Z for 70-point plays right there, or potentially even more if like the worst case scenario happens, an IZE bingo or something. But I just didn't know Kidder, and I don't know why I didn't play Kilter. It's been so long since the Nationals. I'm not sure if I didn't see it or if I didn't feel like throwing out 3 different floating tiles like that. I'm really not sure, but I really shouldn't make this play Diked. It just opens up too much for my opponent. But I did. Sucks to suck at Scrabble, I suppose. Mike plays Pang right here, P-A-N-G. And he actually told me after the game he held FRT, so A-F-G-P-N-R-T is Mike's rack. And there's some other stuff you can do here as well, but I guess he decided to keep the vowel hook open for later on, or set up spoof or something. I held LT last turn with Diked, and I ended up picking A-E-I-I-O, which kind of feels like karmic justice for making a stupid play like Diked. So I deserve what happens to me here, but luckily I did at least get the A for a vowel, and we're in some kind of business. So there's not a ton you can do, and with so many vowels in the unseen pool, I decided I really do need to get rid of vowels this turn. I don't want to make a fish, I don't want to throw down OI anywhere, just because I'm probably going to pick up another vowel and score 12 again next turn. So I decided to take a gamble and play Aioli here. Aioli can get burned if Mike bingos with the 7 down here, or if Mike's got the Q, maybe that's going to hit me pretty hard, but there's only, you have to open yourself up to some risk sometimes, and that was a good scoring play, good equity play. I think I just had to do it. Mike gave me his rack again this turn. He has FRT plus QRSU. Geez, I cannot type right now. QRSU. And Mike does something pretty interesting, but also pretty smart, probably. TSK is pretty sick. Mike plays Flirt right here. That opens up that dangerous triple line, but if you look at his leave, it's QURS. Mike said he was trying to draw an A or an I or an O to hit quids or quads down here, which I absolutely did not sniff out when he played Flirt. I'd seen him play Rob and then Pang and then Flirt, and I'm just like, wow, he's just got a bunch of consonants, which alarmed me even more because the pool was already so many vowels, and if he's got a bunch of consonants, then the pool is even more vowels. I'm going to be drawing vowels for days. So flirt comes down, and I picked up some weird stuff. I was expecting more vowels, and instead I pick up EJPRTUZ, which is weird. It doesn't actually give me a lot of plays right now. I like pulling JZ or JX or ZX all at the same time because I know I'm going to score a bunch of points for a while. But after a play like Flirt, I really felt like I do need to address the T he put out there. He could be bingo prone. He could not be. I really don't know. But Putter seemed to do exactly that. And on a closed board with, I mean, I guess there are still quite a few bingo lines, but I really do feel like this game a lot of the time just comes down to who's going to score more points. You know, either if we both bingo once or if we both bingo 0 times, you know, then this game comes down to who's going to score more points. And I'm going to score more points than Mike most of the time if I have the Z and the J to score more points with. So I felt pretty good about playing Putter. Now, one thing about Putter that I do know is it actually takes a back. I mean, it's a verb, so puttered is good, but it's actually also a thing you can put ER after, putterer, which is weird. And it will actually come into play later. So I knew that at the time when I put down Putter, but, you know, you can't not play that simply because of that. So Putter comes down, and Mike, I told you he held QRSU, or he said he held QRSU, and he picks up DEX. So he missed out on quads and quids and quads, but he's able to play Dex right here for 41 and do the same thing, fish for an A, an I, or an O again. So that's what Mike is going to do. He'll play Dex for 41 and EEIIJTZ. So there are the vowels that I was expecting. Hold JZ and pick up EEII and a T. I do something terrible this turn. There's a nice play if you want to pause and try and find it. I wasn't able to. That play is right up at the top. It's eejit. And I just did not see it. You know, any word that was added 2015 or later, I still struggled to see. I just haven't played a ton of Scrabble since that because that's right when I started my full-time career. And it's tough, you know. I'm in Egypt for missing that, but it makes this a much easier game to win for me. I do want to point out really quick that Pang does take a back A. That's a thing that might come up, you know, that I'm still a little worried about. If I don't see Ejit, like I've got very few available plays. You know, there's Jig and Zig and Zig and I mean, there's really just not a lot worth doing. If Jete here gave me any kind of play down from the J next turn, that'd be pretty cool. But IIZ, I'm not going to draw anything unless I pick up a blank, and there are no blanks left. You know, I just saw a lot of plays that really didn't seem to go anywhere. I can play Zine and give up a hook. So if ultimately I decided to play G'd, there are 2 O's left, but I don't feel like O's are like super good. I mean, there's a chance that there's a play that comes down there for 30 or 40 maybe, but even if that does happen, like I can win the game sometimes. I've still got a Z. I'm probably not tripling up these I's. I felt okay with G'd, but God, Egypt wins me this game so many more times than G'd does, and I really should have seen that. So G'd is what comes down, and then Mike plays GEY right here. Again, I think he's holding QRSU, so I did finally knock out quads and quids and whatever, and he didn't even pull it. But he's got the Y now, and he's able to score well again. You know, it kind of sucks to see Mike miss his quads fish over and over and over, but he did pick up DEX for 41 and then GEY for 36. And so as far as 3 tile draws into that go, if you're going to miss, those are about the best things you can pull. So I'm starting to fall behind now a little bit. It was like a tie game, and it was my turn, you know, the last couple turns, and now I'm down 12, and it's my turn, and I don't have the best rack. IIMNNTZ is what I end up with. But if you take a look at that unseen pool right now, there's 4 A's, 3 E's, and I, 2 O's, and 3 U's. I think that's 13 vowels out of 21 unseen tiles, which is nuts. And so that makes this turn a lot more interesting. I was drawn to Zing right away because IMNT, like if I pick up 2 vowels and a consonant, especially since I can't really pick up another I mean, I can. There's only 1 left, though. It's the least likely vowel for me to pick up. I feel pretty solid about that leave. And while this doesn't look like a great board to fish on, I hold ING to go right here. and I hold an M to bingo right there. So Zing really does allow me to do a lot next turn in terms of like, there's two kind of marginal lines on the board, but I have exactly the tools I need to hit either one. I love making this play. Like, I'd rather play Zing down here than up here because I want to hold. I've got the M, and so the one line is mine. And then you can be a little bit concerned about overlapping plays with an A under Zing, but with Panga available anyway, like who cares? So Zing seemed pretty awesome to me, and we're gonna see now if I can pick up 3 tiles that give me a bingo either down the A column or across the 1 column. Mike is going to play RUB off for 26 points right there. So he actually did knock out the G. Unfortunately for Mike, and fortunately for me, this is what I pulled. There is a 7 in this rack, and it does play along the 1 line. That 7 is Manite. And Manite comes down right away. That was pretty fortunate. I don't know what my actual chances of bingoing after Zing were. I felt like they were decent. And I mean, I'm going to play Zing anyway because it scores 28. But I was really happy to see that come down. Now I'm in a terrible situation right now because I've picked up AAAELOU. And the unseen pool to me is this. And I'm pretty sure the new 3 SHO doesn't take a back S, but I'm not certain enough. And I see that if Mike plays quoits up here, making shows, he holds ER to hit putterer down there. Now, my Mike has 8 tiles in this hypothetical universe, but if he plays quoits, then whatever he draws, is going to give him putterer and out. And so I'm freaking out, frantically trying to do the math. If the worst case scenario happens and he does have quoits and then putterer, that's like the worst 2-play sequence I can see. Can I still live it? And I find a play OUZEL does barely win in that instance. Quester. Wow. I guess I did dodge a bullet here. That's a possibility. Mike does actually play quoits after I'd been thinking about it for a while. So we'll go ahead and put quoits in as his rack. And I say hold, and I think about it for a while, but if I challenge quoits and SHOS, and SHOS is valid, I lose the game. It's 55, and Mike has ER, so he doesn't even have to see putterer. He can just play res or anything, drop ER right here, and he'll win the game. So quoits is one of those unchallengeable phonies where it's like, if I were 100% sure I could challenge it and bank up some spread, but I'm just not 100% sure. And I have an endgame that wins no matter what. I actually have 5 endgames. Basically, any play I make using the Z is going to win, even if he sees putterer, but Alzel wins the best. So I'm expecting putterer to come down, and this will be a close game. Or maybe, it's a tough word to see, maybe it's less. And Mike confused me a lot because Mike picked up his E and set it right there and said 8 and out. Mike plays with the score pad in his hand, and the score pad just happens to cover up the 2nd tile on his rack. And so he thought he had 1, and he grabbed it and set it down and stopped the clock. And I'm like, Mike, there's another tile on your rack. And he moved his score pad over and was just like ashamed. So I guess some of the spread I gave up by letting quoits go, I end up earning back right here. That was one of the funnier things that happened. But I have 3 A's, so I'm not going out. I don't think I saw the Panga play. I just went up here, and then Mike ended up dropping the R there for 4. So that was that game. There was a lot I could have done differently. I was happy to pull it out. Manai was a fortunate pull, but also a calculated pull. I really wish I could redo Dyked and play Kidder on that turn. I really could have been burned badly on non-vocal, but I wasn't. I'd like to get the spread back from this play as well. But other than that, I don't feel like I did too many terrible things this game. And I got a little lucky and was able to eke it out. So that's round 10. This pushes me up to 6 and 4. And again, I still have quite a bit of spread right now. So I think this actually pushed me all the way up into the top 15 or so. We'll see you guys around. Thanks for watching.